Hi everyone. For those who couldn't join me at Visit Sydney, I'm excited to share this tutorial recording to discuss something incredibly powerful. That is Tableau Metadata API and how we can leverage GraphQL to access it easily. Every data visualization tells a story, but behind these visual stories, there is often a complex world filled with challenges around data quality, design consideration, and evolving requirements. So, let me share an experience from my own journey that many of you can relate to. Few years ago, I was part of a challenging project where a key source system underwent a massive transformation. Many critical data fields were either removed or renamed. This significantly disrupted our ETL pipelines and numerous Tableau dashboards. I was part of conducting an impact assessment to identify all the affected dashboards, a process that was manual, time consuming, and prone to errors. Looking back now, I realize how differently and easily I could have handled the same situation today. And thanks to Tableau Metadata API, which also powers Tableau Catalog. With just few GraphQL queries, we can now effortlessly visualize data lineage from original source fields all the way to impacted dashboards. And today, I will show you exactly how Tableau's Metadata API can turn these challenging scenarios into manageable, insightful tasks. So let's understand what is metadata in Tableau. Well, metadata in Tableau refers to detailed information about Tableau assets, the data about your data. Specifically, it includes details about workbook and dashboards, like name of the workbook, who created it, who is the owner of the workbook or the dashboards, their usage statistics and relationships. And if we talk about data sources, it tells us about connection details, connection type, tables, fields, their data types, and their descriptions. And similarly, for fields and calculation, it tells us all the information about calculated field, their underlying logic, data lineage, and transformation. And the most important part is how the data moves through Tableau by giving us the relationship between the source through transformation, calculation, and to the final visualization. So it tells us the lineage and relationship between the moving paths from source to the destination, that is, from source fields to the visualization. But why does Tableau metadata matters to us? Well, the first most important reason is the data governance, right? It ensures that we are compliant, it tracks the data ownership, its usage, and its access. So all that can be managed and done by Tableau Metadata API. And another most important reason is impact analysis. Well, Metadata API help us to quickly identify the changes to the underlying data sources or fields and its impact on the dashboards and the workbooks. So it helps us in doing the impact analysis as well as troubleshooting by just going through the data lineage and relationship, which can be easily accessed through Tableau Metadata API. In short, Tableau Metadata empowers you with the clarity, control, and confidence over your Tableau environment. Now, to effectively tap into this metadata, Tableau uses GraphQL, a powerful query language that lets you precisely fetch the metadata you need. It was developed by a team at Facebook and it's an open source tool. It helps you to describe the data you want and get back the desired results. So why GraphQL? Why do we need that? Well, because of its precision and efficiency. You request only what you need, no more or no less, improving query performance. And the second reason is flexibility. It easily adapts your queries as your requirement evolves. So for example, if you are looking at a data sources, it will give you a list of data sources, but then you want to see all the downstream workbooks or dashboards which are linked to that data source, then you can add those parameters in the queries to get that information. So it gives you that flexibility to get the data what you need. And last but not the least is the insightfulness. Well, it rapidly extracts insightful relationship and lineage information which will help with your impact analysis and troubleshooting. So with GraphQL and Tableau's Metadata API combined, you have a robust tool to explore your metadata precisely, quickly, and effectively. Now, if you look at this example of GraphQL query, so there are multiple sections. The first section, which is highlighted in green, is query. Well, it indicates that we are retrieving the data. So think of it as a select query, right, where you are trying to extract the information. So if you want to extract the information from Metadata API, you have to write query here. And then we have a query name, so you can give any sort of query name. So if you are extracting data sources, you can say data source query name. Or if you are trying to extract the information of the fields, you just simply type in fields. And then below that, this is the data source. It basically specifies the resource which we are querying. So in this case, we are querying data sources. So it's a data source resource. So think of it as a table which have all the information about data sources. But if we change it to fields, it will give all the information about the fields. And then we have these field names, which you can think of it as attributes in the table. So for data sources, I am looking for all the IDs and the names. So these are kind of field names or the column names in a table. And then the output will be in the JSON format in the same way which we queried. So for example, we query data sources. It gives us the data source ID and the data source name in the JSON format output. So it's quite simple as it looks. And by default, it is enabled on Tableau Cloud, this Metadata API, which is accessible by GraphQL. And on Tableau Server, you have to check with your Tableau Server admin who can enable it using TSM command. Now let's see this in action. So we'll be looking at my Tableau Cloud site, which is DataViz Canvas. And on this particular site, I have few resources related to workbooks and data sources. So if we go to our Explore section and look at data sources, you will see these are all the extract published data sources, which are 10 of them. But if I look at all the table objects, you will see we have a lot of tables, which is including published data sources and embedded data sources, which is a lot more. So if we select all of them, we can see there are 26 items. So 26 data sources. But if we are only looking at the published data sources, with which we go here and see, we have only 10. So as my first example, I will be showing you how to extract these data sources or how to get the metadata for these data sources using GraphQL. So for that, how we can access Metadata API using GraphQL. So for that, simply go to External Assets, and on the right top side, you will see Query Metadata using GraphQL. So we will click on that, and you will see this beautiful interface opens, where on the left-hand side is where you will be writing your queries. On the right-hand side, you will be getting the output in the JSON format. And on the top, you will see the history button. If you click on that, if there is any history on that one, you will see it on the left-hand side. And we can close it by clicking on cross button. And if you want to run a query, you will click that execute query button. And on the right-hand side, we will have the documentation explorer. That's the best part. So if you need any information about any of these queries, you can go here, click on the queries, and get the information of what metadata you are trying to extract. So let's start by typing in query, which is, as I mentioned earlier, it's trying to extract the information from the resources. That's why we use query. And then we put curly braces. And in here, now we need to type in the resource which we need to query. So in this case, I will say data sources. So when I started typing data, it will give me the autocomplete option. And here I will select data sources. And let's say I simply click execute here, and you will see all the data sources are here. And that includes all of them, which we discussed earlier. So on my data cloud, on my Tableau Cloud, there are 26 data sources, and these are all 26. But I am more interested in the published data sources. So for that, I will change data sources, delete it, and I will say publish data sources and select that. And you will see here publish data sources, and I will execute it, and you will see only 10 of them are here. That's what I wanted. So if I go back to my website, so let's go back to our Tableau Cloud login again, and let's see how many published data sources are there, just to make sure we are on the same side. So let's go to Explore and let's look at data sources. There are 10 of them, right? Now let's see the names of these data sources. I want to see what are the names and when are they last refreshed. So you can see from here, right? But let's try it from Metadata API. So after ID, I will say I want the name of that data source. And then I want last extract refresh time. And now learn the query. And you can see here for each of this data source, it will give me the name of the data source. When was it last refreshed? But now also I want to see in which project folder it is located. So I will add project name, and that way I can see the project name folder for each of them, and they are all in the published data sources, which is really cool. Now, while working on this particular scenario, I am more interested in all the workbooks which they are related to. So for example, I am interested in this ACT charities data source, right? So I will copy that, and I would be interested to just see that information, not all 10 of them. So what I will do after publish data sources, I will add a filter condition. So I will say filter, and then I want to filter it on ID, right? And then I will put the ID name here and just run that query, and you will see we will only see that information for that published data source. So now I am interested in knowing which all workbooks and dashboards this published data source is impacting. So for that, I want to know all the downstream. So when I write down, it will give me all the information. So I want to select downstream workbooks, and in the downstream workbook, I want ID and name of the downstream workbooks. So you will see here for that particular published data source, there are 3 workbooks. So list of charities, charity counts, and charity opportunities to support in ACT. So these are the 3 workbooks which are impacted by this data source. Now, still not finished, I am now more interested in downstream dashboards. So in the workbook, there can be multiple dashboards, right? So let's see which all dashboards it is impacting as well. And let's run it. And there is only one dashboard which it is impacting. All of the other one might be just the sheets, worksheets. That's how we can actually analyze and see the lineage from data source to workbooks, right? Now let's look at another scenario for just the views. But before I write another query, I would like to give name to this query. So I will say data source query, right? So when I click on this, it will run this query. But now I want to create another query. So maybe let's give the name users. And for this, I want to say Tableau users. And I want to list down all the user IDs and names. Because in this particular site, so okay, again, so when we run the query, and if we have multiple query, it will ask you which query you want to run. So in this case, I want to run user query, and it is giving me an error here because it is unable to find that one because I have entered names instead of name. So let's run it again, and you can see here there is only one user. So if we go back to the site, and if we go here and look at the user, there is only one user, which is a site admin and Tableau with MFA authentication. But now I want to see how many workbooks are owned by this user. So I will say own workbooks, and when I run it, it will give me all the list of workbooks which are owned. Same way I can add the name and I can run it. So another way to run it is just using Control Enter in Windows or Command Enter in Mac, and it will run all of them together. Isn't it interesting? And same way, if you want to find more information, you can write owned data sources. And same way, if you run it, it will first give you owned workbooks, and then it will give you owned data sources. Now let's look at another example. So I want to write another query, and in this query I am interested in fields. So I will give the name field, and I will type in fields, and here what I would like to do, I would like to know the name and ID of all the fields, and let's run it. And it will give me the list of all the fields across all the workbooks and data sources in here. And now I am interested to just filter it out based on a particular data source, right? So for example, if I want to see, let's pick up a particular field which I know is used across multiple workbooks. So let's say I looked at this rank field, right? So I will copy that, and I will put a filter here, filter, and I will add ID, and I will add the ID information, and I will close that, and I will run it, and it will only give me that particular field. But now I am interested on the field to know if it is referenced by calculation. So what it means is, if there is a calculation based on this particular field. So for this particular one, there is no calculation, which is fine. Now I want to see all the downstream sheets which it is impacting. If we change this particular field, give me all the worksheets where it will be impacting. So it tells us these are the two downstream sheets where it will impact if we remove this field. And same way, if we want to see downstream dashboards or workbooks, we will simply add that information, and you can see here it will give us the workbook, that this is the workbook where it will have an impact. So that way you can easily do the impact analysis if we are making some changes to the data field on a particular data source, and you can find the lineage straight away how that particular field will have impact on the workbooks or different dashboards. Now let's look at this example, the first one, data source one. I want to see all the published data sources and their workbooks and their impact on data sources. So here I will remove this filter, because in here I want to show you how you can see that information. So once we have all that information, I will copy that in the JSON format. I will go to Tableau Workbook, and I will go to the text file, or JSON file in this case. I haven't downloaded it, so let's first save the JSON file, and I want to save it, and I want to save it in the JSON format, which is fine. So I will do it JSON, and I will give the name, any name in this case. So let's give it data sources, right? And it's in my download folder. Yep. So I have done that. Now I will go to JSON, and I will go to downloads, and you will see here, this is the JSON file. Let's connect to that one, and you will see this pop up here where it will give you the hierarchy. So starting from published data sources, downstream data sources, and downstream workbooks. So I will select all of them and select OK. And let's go to the worksheet. Here, it's so easy. You start with published data source name, then you start with data source dashboard name, and then workbook name. And you can see the hierarchy here straight away, that this data source is impacting these many workbooks. So one workbook and multiple data shows. So if you have the fields like that, you can do the same thing. So let's go back into our environment here, and instead of this filter field, I will remove this, and let's run this, and you will see all the fields here, and if they are referenced by calculation, so which you will see somewhere here, if there is any field which is referenced by calculation, and you will see some value here. So here you can see reference by calculation. You can see these two fields which are referenced by calculation. So let's add the name here as well. And now let's copy this one. Copy. And let's go to our JSON file which we worked on. And oops, it's opening in Acrobat Effects, which I don't want. Don't allow. I don't want it in this one. Okay, so here I will paste the new file and close it, right? And then I will go to this particular sheet, edit the data source, and I will simply refresh it. It is not working, so remove it and remove this one. And I will bring it here, and you can see here we have fields, downstream sheets, workbooks, referenced by calculation. So simply bring it here, and let's remove this. And you can see here, so let's start from the fields, right? So we will bring the fields here, and we will bring the downstream dashboards or downstream sheets. And you can see here, we will have the hierarchy straight away. So these fields are used in these many sheets. And let's bring downstream workbooks. And you can individually select it here. So if I want to bring a particular field and I want to see this field is impacting which data sources, you can see it here straight away. And now if you want to be a bit more fancy, you can add an extension of Sankey chart, open it, and simply you can bring the field names, the data source, data stream, sheet names. And if you want to bring multi-level Sankey chart, you can bring workbooks as well. And that way you can get more creative and make your data relationships and lineage more interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed this session. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a message in the section below. Thank you.